Okay, first, this is serious stuff here. I'm sorry to bring the show down, but first, Apple said okay to Google's voiced app, and then it was like, nah, thanks, bro, whatevers. And then Google was like, WTF, and Apple's all like, lols. And now the FCC is like, STFU, and we've never needed the loop more than right now. Joining me from New York to help make sense of all this OMG-ness, editor-in-chief for Engadget.com, Joshua Topolsky is here. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm excited by the notion of maybe getting Google Voice on my iPhone, and want to have a chat about it because late in the afternoon on Friday, the FCC got into the app business a little bit. They went after Apple and AT&T for rejecting the Google Voice app. Joshua, what are they actually looking for or asking for in this investigation?
Well, so they sent 3 letters. They sent one to Google, they sent one to AT&T, and one to Apple. And they're kind of asking the same question that we've all been asking, which is, what is the process for app approval? Who's looking at this stuff?
I thought it was, where's the picture messaging? That's what we've all been asking. But
well, I'm sure they want to know as well.
All right, so they reach out to these companies. They want to know the details. Did they request anything specifically from these companies?
Yeah, I mean, the real big question in the letter seems to be, like I said, about the approval process. You know, it's completely opaque. You don't know how Apple chooses these apps, and they don't even seem to be sure. The FCC doesn't even seem to know who's involved. They're asking AT&T if they're involved in the app approval process, which of course is the rumor that they sort of forced Apple's hand in this. So I think they're just trying to find out all this stuff that everybody else is trying to find out.
Sure. It sounds like it's going to be a headache for AT&T and Apple, to say the least. But I mean, on the surface, it sounds like an investigation is going to be a good thing for consumers like myself. I mean, I have an iPhone, and it sounds like maybe the gatekeeper is going to be crushed and free apps for everyone. You know, anybody can get in the store. But there's always got to be a downside to something like this, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the flip side of the argument is that, you know, the iPhone is Apple's. They created the hardware, they created the software, and they can pretty much tell you what to do with it or what kind of software they don't want on it. And so, you know, there's always the concern that you bring in a federal body to start regulating a private company, and that can get a little sticky.
So you're saying that maybe now the FCC might potentially, down the road, have a hand in approving what apps appear and what apps don't?
Well, they may start to say to Apple, here's what you can and can't do as far as app approval is concerned, or what kind of apps they have to allow on the phone, which, you know, would obviously rub Apple really, really the wrong way.
Yeah. In that scenario, I don't need Google Voice. I'll take 15 different fart applications. That's fine. Just leave the government out of this. But, you know, Apple announced this morning that Google CEO Eric Schmidt is actually stepping down from its board of directors. And, you know, people have called on this for a while now. They've been waiting for this. It just didn't make much sense. Is this a direct result of the FCC news, you think?
Well, let's just say the FCC news probably didn't help the relationship between Google and Apple. But, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's an antitrust case that's being looked at by the Federal Trade Commission and about Google and Apple. And they've got, you know, Google has basically moved into Apple space pretty clearly. They've got a phone operating system, and now they've got a desktop and laptop operating system. So I think there's a lot of stuff happening in their relationship that's making it kind of chafing for both parties.
Maybe he's stepping back just in time to announce the G tablet, because you know, in other Apple news, I mean, it's not a question of when anymore. It's a question of or I'm sorry, not a question of if. It's now a matter of when we're going to get this Apple tablet. Do we know anything about the tablet's features? I mean, I know it's all speculation at this point, but we can probably assume multi-touch, and it's powered by unicorns and fairy dust.
Yeah, it's actually powered by 2 unicorns, which is a new
so it's a dual unicorn processor. That's good.
Yeah, it's dual unicorns, dual uni as we call it. But I mean, what we know about the tablet is all speculation and rumor at this point. You know, it's supposed to be 10 inches. It's supposed to cost $700 or $800. It's going to be multi-touch. Apparently, it's going to involve some sort of new music packaging or media packaging called Cocktail, which will involve, I guess, mixed media. Supposedly Apple's working on a deal with record labels and different media companies to provide these packages that will be featured on this mystical tablet, which we haven't really heard a real word about. I mean, all we know is that there are a lot of rumors about it.
Is that like a preloaded kind of thing? Like I can get my tablet loaded with all the Fallout Boy I can handle, or?
I think it's probably more like they're going to open up a new wing of the iTunes store and have a bunch of new content there to sell to you.
Interesting, interesting. Well, do you think that Apple might unveil the tablet as early as next month? That's what some sites are saying, or others are saying it's going to be on sale by the end of the year.
Well, I mean, every fall they do an iPod event, basically. Last fall they did one. They introduced the new Touch and the new Nano, and so they're going to do an event. It's going to be their like back-to-school iPod event, and there's a lot of rumors right now sort of saying that's when we're going to see the tablet appear. And if that happens, it's pretty likely that they could introduce it for the holiday season, so we'd see it on the shelves in November. You know, I mean, that's totally realistic for Apple if they introduce it in September.
I hope we get some jobs back in the market so people can actually afford the tablet and all the media on it as well. But Joshua, thank you so much for joining us and keeping us in the loop. We appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks for having me.